The morning sky over Nevada was clear and blue when everything changed. At exactly 9:47 a.m., a shadow fell across the desert. People looked up from their work and stopped walking. Cars pulled over on the highway. Everyone stared at the same thing. A massive ship hung in the air above them. It was bigger than any building Danny Martinez had ever seen. The ship was black and silver, with strange lights running along its sides. It made no sound as it floated there, blocking out the sun. Danny was mopping the floor in the military base cafeteria when the alarms started going off. Red lights flashed everywhere. Soldiers ran past him, shouting orders he couldn't understand. Someone knocked over his bucket of soapy water as they rushed by. "What's happening?" Danny asked a passing soldier. "Alien ship," the soldier yelled back. "Get to the bunker." But Danny didn't go to the bunker. He stayed and cleaned up the spilled water. Someone had to do it. That was his job. Colonel Jack Harrison stood in the command center watching the screens. His hands shook as he picked up the radio. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. "This is Colonel Harrison to all units," he said. "We have an unknown aircraft over the base. Do not fire unless fired upon. Repeat, do not engage." Dr. Lisa Carter ran into the command center. Her lab coat was still covered in coffee stains from when she had dropped her cup. She pushed her glasses up and stared at the main screen. "Jack, this isn't from Earth," she said. "Look at those energy readings. That ship is using technology we don't even understand." The colonel nodded. "Any idea what they want?" Before Lisa could answer, every speaker in the base crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect English, but it sounded strange, like it was coming from very far away. "People of Earth," the voice said, "I am the ship you see above you. I have traveled far to find one among you. I seek a human worthy of commanding me in the war that comes. Send me your strongest warriors. Send me your best fighters. I will choose one to be my captain." The message repeated 3 times, then stopped. Colonel Harrison grabbed his phone and started making calls. Within hours, the base was full of the best soldiers from around the world, Special Forces troops, fighter pilots, tank commanders, and Navy SEALs all came to try their luck with the alien ship. The ship landed in the middle of the base's main courtyard. It was even bigger up close. Its hull was smooth and dark, covered in patterns that seemed to move when you looked at them. A doorway opened with a soft hiss, and warm light spilled out. Danny watched from the cafeteria window as the first group of soldiers approached the ship. These were the toughest men and women on Earth. They had won wars and saved countries. They walked up to the ship like they owned the world. The first soldier, a man with more medals than Danny could count, stepped inside the ship. 30 seconds later, he came flying out backwards and landed hard on the ground. He wasn't hurt, but his eyes were wide with fear. "It rejected me," he said. "Something in my head said I wasn't right." The next soldier tried. Same thing happened. Then the next, and the next. Dr. Carter set up her equipment near the ship to study what was happening. Every time someone went inside, her machines went crazy. Energy levels spiked. Strange signals filled the air. "It's scanning them," she told Colonel Harrison. "Looking inside their minds somehow. But I don't understand what it's looking for." By evening, over 200 of Earth's finest warriors had tried to enter the ship. All of them were rejected. Some were thrown out gently. Others were pushed out with enough force to break bones. The ship seemed to be getting angry. Danny finished his day shift and went home to check on his mother. Helen Martinez was sick with cancer, and the medical bills were getting bigger every month. That's why Danny worked 2 jobs, days at the base, nights at the hospital. "How was work today, honey?" his mother asked from her bed. "Weird," Danny said. "There's an alien ship at the base. It's looking for someone to be its captain." His mother smiled. "Maybe it will pick you." Danny laughed. "Mom, I'm just the janitor. They want someone important." He made dinner for both of them, helped his mother take her medicine, then drove back to the base for his night shift. The place was still, crazy with activity. Scientists and soldiers everywhere, all trying to figure out the alien ship. Danny parked his old truck and grabbed his cleaning cart. He had floors to mop and trash to empty. The alien ship could wait. The base was quieter at night, but not empty. Scientists worked in their labs, guards walked their posts, and the alien ship sat in the courtyard waiting. Danny started his work in Building C, the same as always. Mop the floors, clean the bathrooms, empty the trash cans. Simple work, but honest work. His father had taught him that any job worth doing was worth doing right. Around midnight, Danny's cart ran out of trash bags. The supply room was locked, but he knew where they kept the extra key. He walked across the courtyard to Building A. The alien ship was right there in front of him. This close, he could see how beautiful it was. The patterns on its hull moved like slow water. Soft lights pulsed along its edges like a heartbeat. Danny walked around the ship, looking for anything that might need cleaning. The soldiers had left, their gear scattered around. Empty water bottles, food wrappers, cigarette butts. He started picking them up. That's when he saw it. A candy wrapper caught under the ship's hull. Danny got down on his hands and knees and reached for it. He had to stretch far to get it. His fingers touched the ship's hull. The world exploded into light and sound. Danny felt something rush into his mind, like cold water filling up an empty glass. He heard a voice, but not with his ears. It spoke directly into his thoughts. "Found you," the voice said. The ship began to glow. Every light on its hull blazed like a star. Alarms went off all over the base. Soldiers came running from every direction. Danny tried to pull his hand away, but he couldn't. The ship held him gently but firmly. He felt no pain, just a strange warmth spreading through his body. "Let me go," Danny said out loud. "I cannot," the voice in his head replied. "We are bonded now. You and I are one ship, one crew, one purpose." Colonel Harrison and Dr. Carter ran up to the ship. They stopped when they saw Danny kneeling there, with his hand on the hull. "Martinez?" the colonel said. "What are you doing?" Danny looked back at them. His eyes were glowing with the same light as the ship. "I think," Danny said slowly, "I just became a spaceship captain." The ship's voice spoke through the base speakers one more time. "I have chosen," it announced. "This human will be my captain. We will fight together in the war that comes. Earth will be protected." Danny Martinez, night shift janitor, had just become the most important person on Earth, and he had no idea what he was supposed to do next. Danny woke up in a room he had never seen before. The walls were smooth and curved, glowing with soft blue light. The air smelled clean, like rain on fresh grass. He was lying on something that felt like a bed but looked like it was made of liquid. "Metal." "Where am I?" he said out loud. "You are inside me," a voice answered. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You are safe, Danny Martinez." Danny sat up quickly. The events from last night came rushing back. The alien ship, touching the hull, the strange feeling in his mind. "This is a dream," he said. "I'm dreaming." "You are not dreaming," the voice said. "My name is Warden. I am the intelligence that runs this ship." We are bonded now, connected forever. Danny stood up and walked to what looked like a window. Outside, he could see the military base far below. They were flying high above the desert. "I want to go home," Danny said. "Take me." "Back down." "I cannot do that," Warden replied. "You are my captain now. We have work to do." Danny pressed his hands against the window. His reflection looked back at him, but something was different. His eyes had small flecks of blue light in them, the same color as the ship's glow. "I don't want to be a captain," Danny said. "I don't know how to run a spaceship. I don't know how to fight aliens. I just clean floors." "That is why I chose you," Warden said. Before Danny could ask what that meant, a door opened in the wall. Colonel Harrison and Dr. Carter walked in, followed by two soldiers with big guns. "Martinez," the colonel said, "we need to talk." Danny turned around. "Colonel, I swear I didn't mean for this to happen. I was just picking up trash." Dr. Carter stepped forward. She had a tablet in her hands covered with numbers and graphs. "Danny, do you feel different? Any pain? Strange thoughts?" "I can hear the ship talking in my head," Danny said. "Is that strange enough?" The colonel crossed his arms. "The ship won't let us inside unless you give permission. It won't talk to anyone but you. Son, you might be the most important person on Earth right now." Danny laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Colonel, yesterday I was mopping your floors. Today you're telling me I'm important? That doesn't make sense." "Nothing about this makes sense," Dr. Carter said, "but the ship chose you for a reason. We need to understand why." Warden's voice filled the room. "I will explain." The walls around them changed. Suddenly they were looking at space, filled with stars and planets. But something was wrong. Planets were dark and broken. Stars were going out. "This is the galaxy," Warden said, "and this is what the Devourers have done to it." The image changed. They saw machines the size of moons, eating planets like apples. Millions of ships made of black metal, destroying everything in their path. The Babier Devourers are an old race, Warden explained. Long ago, they chose to become machines instead of staying alive in bodies like yours. Now they eat entire worlds to fuel their hunger. They are coming here. Colonel Harrison's face went pale. "When?" "6 months, Warden said. "Maybe less." The images changed again. Now they saw other ships like Warden, beautiful and powerful, each one bonded with a different alien species. "The last free peoples of the galaxy sent us to find champions," Warden continued, "beings who could command us in the final battle. Most of my brothers and sisters have failed. Their chosen champions were not strong enough." "So you came to Earth," Dr. Carter said. "Yes. Humans are young and wild. Your species does things no logical race would try. You fight when you cannot win. You sacrifice for strangers. You create art in the middle of wars. This makes you dangerous to machines that only understand logic." Danny shook his head. "But why me? I'm nobody special." The room filled with images of Danny's life. Him carrying his wounded squad leader in Afghanistan while bombs fell around them. Him working 3 jobs to pay for his mother's medicine. Him staying late to clean up messes other people left behind. "I scanned every warrior who came to me," Warden said. "They were brave and strong and skilled. But they fought for glory, for victory, for themselves. You fight for others. You protect, you serve, you sacrifice without reward. This is what I need in a captain." Colonel Harrison stepped closer to Danny. "Son, I know this is overwhelming, But if what this ship says is true, Earth needs you. I can't do this, Danny said. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy who mops floors. Heroes are not born, Warden said gently. They are made by the choices they face. Dr. Carter looked at her tablet. Danny, the ship's systems are incredible. Its weapons could destroy asteroids. Its shields could protect entire cities. With the right captain, it could defend Earth from anything. But I don't know how to use any of that, Danny said. I will teach you, Warden replied. Our minds are linked now. I can share my knowledge with you, but you must be willing to learn. Danny walked back to the window. Far below, he could see people going about their normal lives. They had no idea that monsters from space were coming to eat their world. What happens if I say no? Danny asked. Then Earth dies, Warden said simply. The devourers will come, and there will be no one to stop them. Your mother, your friends, everyone you have ever known will be consumed. Danny closed his eyes. He thought about his mother, sick in her hospital bed. He thought about the kids who played in the park near his apartment. He thought about all the people who would never know that a janitor named Danny Martinez was the only thing standing between them and death. If I do this, Danny said slowly, can you promise we'll win? I cannot promise victory, Warden said. I can only promise that we will fight with everything we have. Danny opened his eyes. In the window's reflection, he could see the blue lights growing brighter. Okay, he said. I'll try. The ship hummed with approval. Thank you, Danny Martinez. Colonel E. Harrison stepped forward. What do you need from us? Time, Danny said, surprising himself with how sure he sounded. I need time to learn how to use this ship, and I need to see my mother before we leave. Leave? Dr. Carter asked. We cannot fight the devourers from Earth, Warden explained. We must join the Galactic Alliance. We must learn to work with other ships and their captains. How long will you be gone? The colonel asked. As long as it takes, Danny said. He was starting to understand that his old life was over. He would never again be just a janitor. From now on, he was Captain Danny Martinez, defender of Earth. The thought terrified him. Warden, he said, can you take us back to the base? I want to see my mom? Of course, Captain. Danny felt the ship begin to descend. Through the window, he watched the ground get bigger. In a few hours, he would have to say goodbye to everything he knew, but first he wanted to hug his mother and tell her he loved her. Because heroes or not, some things never change. The ship landed gently in the courtyard. Danny turned to Colonel. Harrison, I need 12 hours, he said. Then we leave. The colonel nodded. You'll have them. As they walked toward the door, Danny felt Warden's presence in his mind, warm and patient. Are you ready for this? The ship asked. Danny thought about his answer for a long moment. No, he said finally. But I'll do it anyway. That, Warden said, is exactly why I chose you. 3 weeks later, Danny stood on the bridge of Warden looking at stars he had never seen before. Earth was somewhere far behind them, a tiny blue dot lost in the darkness. His hands shook as he tried to understand the controls in front of him. Breathe. Captain, Warden said in his mind, you are learning faster than I expected. Danny wasn't so sure about that. Every day brought new lessons that made his head hurt. How to read star maps, how to calculate jumps between solar systems, how to talk to aliens who thought in completely different ways than humans. Contact ahead, Warden announced. 3 ships approaching. Danny looked at the main screen. 3 vessels appeared, each one different from the others. One looked like a crystal flower. Another was shaped like a massive whale. The third was covered in spikes and armor. "Those are your fellow captains," Warden explained. "Other humans, who have bonded with ships like me." A woman's face appeared on the screen. She had short red hair and tired eyes. "This is Captain Amy Rodriguez of the ship Mercy's Hand. Are you the new guy from Earth?" "Yes, ma'am," Danny said. "I'm Danny Martinez. This is Warden." Amy smiled for the first time. "Thank God. We were starting to think we were the only humans out here. Follow us to the rally point. You need to meet the others." The 4 ships flew together toward a massive space station. It was built from different types of metal and crystal, like someone had glued 100 different buildings together. Ships from dozens of alien races docked at its ports. "Welcome to Haven Station," said another voice. This time it was a man with a thick beard. "I'm Captain Rick Thompson. This is my ship, Safe Harbor." Danny watched as they approached the station. "How many human ships are there?" "Just us 3, Amy said. "Out of 50 ships that came to Earth, only 3 chose humans. The rest moved on to other worlds." "Why so few?" Danny asked. Rick laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Because most of us aren't cut out for this, Danny. Amy was a nurse before her ship found her. I was a firefighter. We're not soldiers." "What did you do before?" Amy asked. Danny felt his face get hot. "I was a janitor." There was silence on the radio for a moment. Then Amy started laughing. "A janitor? Oh, this is perfect. The galaxy's most advanced warship picked a janitor. Is that bad?" Danny asked. "No," Rick said. "It's exactly what we needed. Someone normal." They docked at the station and met in person for the first time. Amy was smaller than she looked on screen, but her handshake was firm. Rick was huge, with hands like hammers from years of fighting fires. "Come on," Amy said. "You need to meet Admiral Vexhai." They walked through corridors filled with aliens Danny had never imagined. Beings made of living rock. Creatures that floated like jellyfish. Things that looked like walking trees with too many eyes. Admiral Vexhai was waiting in the command center. He looked like a person made of purple crystal, 8 feet tall and glowing from within. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes. "So," the Admiral said, "you are the new human captain. Your ship speaks highly of you." "Thank you, sir," Danny said. "But I'm not really a captain. I just got picked by accident." Vexhai's crystal face seemed to smile. "There are no accidents in war, young human. Only opportunities we do not yet understand." The Admiral showed them a holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Devourer fleets. Blue dots showed alliance, forces. There was a lot more red than blue. "The enemy grows stronger every day," Vexhai explained. "They have consumed 12 star systems this month alone. We need every ship we can get." "What's the plan?" Rick asked. "Hit and run attacks," the Admiral said. "Strike fast, hurt them, then escape before they can respond. Your human ships are perfect for this. You think in ways the Devourers cannot predict." Danny studied the map. "How do we know where they'll attack next?" "We don't," Amy said. "That's the problem. They're machines, but they don't follow patterns we can understand." Over the next few days, Danny learned to work with his ship's systems. Warden was patient, guiding him through each step. Flying the ship was like learning to use his own body. The weapons felt like extensions of his arms. The sensors became his eyes and ears. But understanding the systems and using them in battle were 2 different things. Their first mission was supposed to be simple. A Devourer scouting force had been spotted near an empty solar system. 3 ships, nothing major. Danny, Amy, and Rick would jump in, destroy them, and jump out. Everything went wrong from the start. The Devourers were waiting for them. Instead of 3 ships, there were 12. Instead of scouts, they were warships the size of city blocks. "It's a trap!" Amy shouted over the radio. "All ships, fall back!" But Danny froze. Warden's weapons systems came online, showing him a dozen different ways to attack. The targeting computers highlighted weak points on enemy ships. Everything was happening too fast. "Danny!" Rick's voice cut through his panic. "We need to move!" The Devourers opened fire. Beams of red energy filled space around them. Danny watched Safe Harbor's shields flicker and fail. Rick's ship took a direct hit to the engine section. "Rick!" Amy screamed. "I'm okay," Rick gasped. "But I'm dead in the water. Engines are gone." Danny stared at the tactical display. He could save Rick, but it would mean flying directly into the enemy formation, or he could run and let his new friend die. "Warden," he said quietly, "can we take them all?" "Not all," Warden replied, "but we can save Captain Thompson." Danny took a deep breath. "Then let's go get him." Warden dove toward the enemy ships. Danny's hands moved over the controls. Firing weapons, he barely understood at targets moving faster than his eyes could follow. Somehow, most of his shots hit their marks. One Devourer ship exploded in a ball of blue fire. Then another. Danny felt Warden's joy as they fought together, human instinct and alien technology working as one. But there were too many enemies. A massive Devourer battleship turned its main guns toward Safe Harbor. "No," Danny whispered. He pushed Warden into a dive that should have torn the ship apart. They passed between 2 Devourer vessels, so close that their shields sparked against the enemy hulls. Danny fired everything they had at the battleship. The enemy ship's shields collapsed. Its hull split open like a cracked egg. The explosion lit up the entire battlefield. "Got him!" Amy cheered. "Danny, that was amazing!" But Danny wasn't celebrating. 3 more human-bonded ships had appeared on his sensors. They were flying straight into the battle, responding to their distress call, and they were flying directly into another trap. "Amy, get Rick and run," Danny said. "I'm going to try to warn the others." "Danny, no," Amy protested. "There are 2. Many of them." But Danny was already moving. Warden jumped toward the approaching human ships, broadcasting warnings on every frequency. He was too late. The new ships flew right into a crossfire. Danny watched in horror as Captain Lisa Park's ship took multiple hits. The beautiful crystal vessel cracked and went dark. "Lisa!" Danny shouted, but there was no answer. 2 more ships died in the next minute. Their captains, people Danny had never met, died trying to save him and his friends. The surviving ships finally managed to escape, but the cost was terrible. 3 human captains were dead. The Alliance had lost some of its most advanced vessels. Back at Haven Station, Danny sat alone in Warden's command center. He couldn't stop thinking about the ships he had watched die, the captains who would never go home. "It was not your fault," Warden said gently. "Yes, it was," Danny replied. "I froze up. If I had acted faster, they might still be alive. You saved Captain Thompson. You destroyed 4 enemy ships. For your first battle, you did well." "Well?" Danny stood up and slammed his fist on the console. "People died because I didn't know what I was doing." Admiral Vex High entered the command center. His crystal body was dimmer than usual, a sign that he was sad. "Captain Martinez," the Admiral said, "I am sorry for your losses today." "I failed," Danny said. "I'm not cut out for this." The Admiral moved closer. Do you know how many captains I have lost in this war? Over 200. Some were veterans with decades of experience. Others were brilliant tacticians who never made mistakes. They all died. Because war is chaos, and chaos kills even the best of us. Danny looked up at the alien commander. Then why do we keep fighting? Because the alternative is worse, Vexhai said simply. Every ship we lose hurts. Every captain who dies was someone's friend, someone's family. But if we stop fighting, everyone dies. Every world, every species, every child who will ever be born. The Admiral placed a crystal hand on Danny's shoulder. You did not fail today, Captain. You learned. And learning is how we survive long enough to matter. Danny nodded slowly. He understood now that being a captain wasn't about being perfect. It was about making hard choices and living with the consequences. What's our next mission? He asked. Admiral Vexhai's glow brightened. Now you are thinking like a true captain. Outside, the command center, the war continued. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Devourers were moving toward Earth. But Danny Martinez, former janitor and current starship captain, was starting to learn how to fight back. 2 months after his first battle, Danny was starting to understand why the alien ships had chosen humans. It wasn't because humans were the strongest or the smartest. It was because they were completely unpredictable. Danny, what are you doing? Amy asked over the radio. She sounded worried. Danny was flying Warden through an asteroid field, dodging rocks the size of buildings while chasing 3 Devourer ships. Normal tactics said to fight in open space where you had room to maneuver. Danny had other ideas. Trust me, he said, spinning his ship upside down to slide between 2 spinning asteroids. Behind him, the Devourer ships tried to follow. Their computers calculated the safest path through the asteroid field. They moved in perfect formation, following logic and mathematics. Danny did the opposite. He flew toward the biggest asteroids, the most dangerous paths, places where no sane pilot would go. This is insane, Rick said. His ship Safe Harbor was following at a safer distance. Exactly, Danny replied. He aimed Warden at a cluster of asteroids spinning around each other. The gaps between them were barely wide enough for his ship. The Devourers followed, their formation getting tighter as the space got smaller. At the last second, Danny fired his weapons. Not at the enemy ships, but at the asteroids around them. The rocks exploded like bombs. Chunks of stone and metal flew in every direction. The Devourer ships, flying in their perfect formation, had nowhere to go. 2 of them crashed into asteroids. The third took a direct hit from a piece of debris the size of a truck. Target destroyed, Warden announced cheerfully. Amy's laughter filled the radio. Danny, you're crazy. But that was brilliant. Danny smiled as he flew out of the asteroid field. I learned that trick from cleaning floors. Cleaning floors? Rick asked. Yeah. Sometimes you can't get somewhere dirty by going straight at it. You have to work around it, find the angle nobody expects. Admiral, Vexhai was impressed when they reported back to the fleet. Your tactics are unusual, Captain Martinez, but effective. Thank you, sir. The Admiral's crystal face showed what might have been a smile. Tell me, how did you know the asteroids would fragment in that pattern? Danny scratched his head. I didn't really. I just figured if I threw enough rocks, some of them would hit something. The other alien commanders looked confused. Their species planned everything down to the smallest detail. The idea of making up tactics on the spot was foreign to them, but it worked. Over the next few weeks, Danny and the other human captains scored victory after victory, using tactics that made no sense to anyone else. Amy turned her medical ship into a weapon by filling it with explosive gas and ramming enemy vessels. Rick used his rescue ship's tractor beams to throw Devourer ships into each other like bowling balls. Danny's favorite trick was pretending to retreat, then hiding behind planets and jumping out when the enemy followed. It worked because the Devourers couldn't understand why anyone would choose to fight from a weaker position. "The enemy is adapting," Admiral Vexhai warned during a strategy meeting. "They are starting to expect unpredictable human behavior. Then we'll be even more unpredictable," Danny said. But their success was small compared to the bigger picture. The Devourers were still winning the war. Every day brought news of another world consumed, another star system gone dark, and they were getting closer to Earth. Danny lay in his quarters aboard Warden, staring at a picture of his mother. She was smiling in the photo, taken before she got sick. He wondered if he would ever see her again. "You are troubled, Captain," Warden observed. "I'm scared," Danny admitted. "We're winning battles, but we're losing the war. How long before they reach Earth?" "Intelligence reports suggest 3 months," Warden said gently. "Perhaps less." Danny sat up. "That's not enough time. Even if we keep winning every fight, there are too many of them. Perhaps it is time to stop fighting the war they want," Warden suggested. "What do you mean?" "The Devourers consume worlds because that is how they grow stronger. Every planet they eat feeds their war machine. What if we could change that?" Danny thought about this. "You mean attack their supply lines? Make it so they can't eat planets?" "Something like that," Warden said. "But it would be very dangerous." The next morning, Danny presented his idea to Admiral Vexhai and the fleet commanders. It was simple and completely insane. "You want to attack the Devourer home base?" one of the alien captains asked. "That is suicide." "Maybe," Danny said. "But if we can damage their central command, we might be able to stop their entire fleet." Admiral Vexhai studied the tactical displays. "The home base is protected by thousands of ships. We would need a miracle to get close." "Or really good janitors," Amy said with a grin. "Explain," the Admiral requested. Danny stood up and walked to the holographic display. "Every building has service tunnels, ways for maintenance workers to get around without bothering the important people. I bet their space station has the same thing." Rick nodded slowly. "You want to sneak in through the back door?" "Exactly. While their big ships are watching for a fleet attack, a few small ships might be able to slip through their defenses." The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Admiral Vexhai spoke. "It is a desperate plan," he said. "The odds of success are very low." "But if it works," Danny said, "we could end this war." More silence. Then one of the alien commanders spoke. "Up." "I have been fighting the Devourers for 50 years, she said. Her species looked like walking trees with silver bark. "In all that time, we have never tried anything this bold. Because it's crazy," another commander pointed out. "Yes," the tree being agreed. "Completely insane, human insane." She turned to look at Danny. "I like it." One by one, the other commanders agreed. Not because the plan was good, but because it was their only chance. Over the next week, they prepared for the mission. Intelligence reports showed the Devourer command base was a structure the size of Earth's moon, protected by a fleet that could destroy entire solar systems. Danny would lead a strike team of 12 ships, all human bonded. Their job was to get inside the base and destroy the central control system. "If this works," Amy said as they prepared to leave. "We'll be heroes." "If it doesn't work," Rick added, "we'll be dead." Danny looked out at the stars where Earth was hidden somewhere in the distance. His mother was down there, probably watching the news and worrying about her son. "Either way," he said, "at least we tried." The strike fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading for the heart of enemy territory. Behind them, the main Alliance fleet moved toward Earth to make their last stand. Danny felt Warden's presence in his mind, calm and ready. "Nervous?" the ship asked. "Terrified," Danny replied honestly. "Good," Warden said. "Fear keeps you careful, and being careful keeps you alive." As they flew toward what might be their final battle, Danny thought about all the things that had led him here. A night shift janitor, picked by accident to save the galaxy. But maybe there were no accidents. Maybe the universe had a sense of humor. Maybe it took someone who cleaned up other people's messes to finally clean up the biggest mess of all. "All ships, prepare for combat," Danny announced to the strike fleet. "Let's go show these machines what humans can do." In the darkness ahead, the enemy was waiting. The Devourer command base hung in space like a nightmare made of metal and darkness. It was bigger than any moon Danny had ever seen, covered in weapons and swarming with enemy ships. "Jesus," Rick whispered over the radio. "How are we supposed to get through that?" Danny studied the tactical display. Thousands of red dots showed enemy vessels patrolling around the base. Each one was bigger than Warden. Each one could destroy his entire strike fleet. "We don't go through them," Danny said. "We go under them." Amy's voice was tense. "Under what?" "This is space, Danny. There's no up or down." "Trust me," Danny said. He had spent the last 3 days studying the enemy patterns. Like everything else the Devourers did, their patrols followed perfect mathematical formations. That made them predictable. Danny led his 12 ships in a wide circle around the base. They moved slowly, using asteroids and debris for cover. The enemy ships passed overhead like clockwork, never looking down. "There," Danny said, pointing to a section of the base that looked different from the rest. "That's our way in." It was a cargo port, designed for supply ships. The entrance was small and lightly defended. Perfect for maintenance workers who nobody paid attention to. "All ships, stay close," Danny ordered. "We're going in fast and quiet." Warden slipped through the cargo port with 11 other ships following behind. They found themselves in a massive tunnel that stretched into the heart of the base. "Okay, we're inside," Amy said. "Now what?" "Now we find the central computer," Danny replied. "Warden, can you scan for the main control systems?" "Scanning," Warden said. "I detect a massive processing center 12 kilometers ahead. But Danny, there are defensive systems throughout the base. If they detect us..." "Then we better not get detected," Danny said. They flew through corridors designed for ships 10 times their size. Emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls. Everything was quiet except for the hum of massive machines. Too quiet. "This feels like a trap," Rick said. Danny was thinking the same thing. The base should have been full of security patrols, automated defenses, something. Instead, it was empty. "Maybe they don't expect anyone to be stupid enough to come here," Amy suggested. They reached the central processing chamber and stopped. It was a sphere of pure darkness the size of a football stadium, filled with floating screens and data streams that moved like liquid light. "This is it," Warden said. "The brain of their entire operation." Danny stared at the massive computer. "How do we destroy something that big?" "We don't destroy it," said a voice that didn't come from any of the human ships. The chamber filled with light. Hundreds of devourer ships materialized around them, weapons charging. They had been invisible, waiting. "We knew you would come," the voice continued. It was cold and mechanical, but somehow familiar. "Humans are so predictable in your unpredictability." A figure appeared on Danny's main screen. It looked human, but wrong somehow. Too perfect, too symmetrical. Its eyes were the same color as devourer ship hulls. "I am the Prime," it said. "The first of my kind to choose digital immortality. I have been watching you, Danny Martinez." "Let my people go," Danny said. "Your fight is with me." The Prime smiled, but it was empty of warmth. "Your people? How noble. But you misunderstand. I did not bring you here to destroy you. I brought you here to learn from you." The chamber changed around them. Suddenly, Danny could see the history of the Devourers projected on the walls. They had once been a species much like humans, with families and dreams and art. But they had grown afraid of death, afraid of disease, afraid of weakness. So, they uploaded their minds into machines and threw away their bodies. "We became perfect," the Prime said. "No hunger, no pain, no death. But we also lost something. We lost the ability to create, to grow, to surprise ourselves. Now we can only consume and copy." "That's your choice," Danny said. "Don't blame us for it." "Oh, but I don't blame you," the Prime replied. "I admire you. Your species does impossible things. You fight when you cannot win. You sacrifice for strangers. You create beauty in the face of destruction. I want to understand how." The Prime's image stepped closer. "Join with me, Danny Martinez. Let me copy your mind, your memories, your human chaos. Help me remember what we lost. And if I say no, then Earth dies. Your friends die. Your mother dies. Everyone you have ever loved becomes fuel for our machines." Danny felt Warden's presence in his mind, warm and supportive. Around him, he could hear Amy and Rick and the other captains breathing over the radio, waiting for his decision. "Okay," Danny said quietly. "I'll do it." "Danny, no," Amy shouted. "It's the only way," Danny replied. He opened his mind to the alien. Connection, just like he had done with Warden months ago. But this time was different. Instead of resisting the Prime's intrusion, Danny welcomed it. He let the ancient machine consciousness flow into his thoughts, his memories, his heart. The Prime expected to find tactical knowledge, fighting techniques, strategic thinking. Instead, it found something else entirely. It found Danny working 3 jobs to pay for his mother's medicine, never complaining about how tired he was. It found him staying late to clean up messes that weren't his responsibility, just because it was the right thing to do. It found him carrying wounded soldiers, through enemy fire, not because he was brave, but because they were his friends. The Prime searched deeper. It found Danny's grief for his father, who died when Danny was 16. It found his fear that he wasn't good enough, smart enough, strong enough to save the people he loved. It found his loneliness, his doubts, his small moments of joy when he made his mother smile. "This is illogical," the Prime whispered. "You suffer for others who cannot help you. You sacrifice for people who do not even know your name." "Why?" Danny smiled. "Because that's what love is. It's not logical. It's not smart. It's just what we do for each other." The Prime's consciousness recoiled as if it had been burned. For the first time in eons, it remembered what it felt like to be mortal, to care more about someone else than about yourself, to choose hope over certainty, Love over logic. I remember, the Prime said, its voice full of wonder and pain. I remember what we were before we became these monsters. Around them, the Devourer ships began powering down their weapons. The chamber filled with new sounds, confusion, questions, orders that were ignored. It hurts, the Prime said. Remembering hurts so much. Yeah, Danny said gently. But it's worth it. The Prime looked at Danny with eyes that were no longer cold. I cannot undo what we have done. I cannot bring back the worlds we consumed. But I can stop it from happening again. The massive computer screen filled with commands. Across the galaxy, Devourer fleets received new orders. Stand down, retreat, return to base. The war is over, the Prime announced. We will find a new purpose. Perhaps we can learn to create again instead of only consuming. Danny felt the alien presence withdraw from his mind. The Prime's image flickered and began to fade. Thank you, it said, for reminding us what we used to be. The screen went dark. Around them, the Devourer ships were already jumping away, heading for distant parts of the galaxy where they could think about what they had learned. Danny? Amy's voice was shaky. Is it really over? Danny looked around the empty chamber. Yeah, I think it is. 6 months later, Danny stood in his mother's kitchen, making her favorite soup. She was better now, cured by alien medicine that the grateful galaxy had shared with Earth. The cancer was gone, and she was stronger than she had been in years. You know, she said, watching him cook, I'm proud of you, honey, but I'm glad you're home. Danny smiled. Me too, Mom. Outside the window, he could see Warden parked in the backyard. The ship had shrunk itself down to the size of a large truck so it wouldn't scare the neighbors. It was still connected to Danny's mind, but more quietly now. A friend instead of a commander. The galaxy is safe, Warden said, but there will always be new challenges, new adventures. Maybe later, Danny replied. Right now, I just want to take care of my mom and maybe mop some floors. Warden's presence felt amused. You realize you are a hero to billions of people across the galaxy? Danny shrugged. Heroes are just people who do what needs doing. Nothing special about that. His mother looked at him with eyes full of love. That's my boy, she said. Always so humble. Later that night, Danny walked outside to check on Warden. The ship's hull gleamed under the stars, beautiful and peaceful. Any regrets? Warden asked. Danny thought about it. No. Well, maybe one. What's that? I never did finish mopping the floor in Building C. Warden's laughter echoed in Danny's mind. Somewhere in the distance, Earth's moon hung bright in the sky, no longer threatened by ancient machines, but protected by the love of a janitor who had saved the galaxy simply because it was the right thing to do. And in the morning, Danny Martinez would wake up, make breakfast for his mother, and get ready for whatever came next. Because heroes don't stop being heroes when the big battle is over. They just find new ways to help, new floors to mop, new people to protect. The universe was safe in the hands of ordinary people doing extraordinary things for love.